Hi guys, Nigel here, Nigel with you from Nigel's Modelling Bench, and welcome back and thanks for tuning in. Here we are now, part 12 of this Vulcan build, and it really is starting to take shape. This video is going to be all about a few little tips and stuff and bits and pieces I'm going to do a little bit differently, and also we're going to be taking care of that seam. Don't worry, it won't be endless hours of sanding and stuff, and then hopefully we'll get into painting the bomb bay and the wheel bays and getting all the actuators and the undercarriage doors and everything done. Now, something I just want to show you, a couple of tips. I don't need that one out. Oh, because I'm doing 562, you'll notice here, part number, I think this is H, yeah, sprue H, part H19 goes in here, but if you look at the version you're doing, H18 is not used on this kit, and the XH562 that I'm doing has the straight antenna rather than the one there, like a pitot tube. Okay, so there we go. And we also have this here. It's going to go on the outside of the undercarriage door, so we don't need to put that on yet. And we've got these here underneath. I'm not going to put those in yet because they might get broken off. I might put them in before I do the underside. We shall see. But one of them there's already bent by the look of it. Oh no, these go on the top, don't they? I believe it's that one and that one that are going in there. So that's okay. Right. Notice one's shorter than the other, so check your references and make sure that you're using the right part. Because it looks like 17 is a replacement for 20 as well, so we'll have to check our references. But something I did want to show you, when it comes to doing the actuators and stuff, leave them on the sprue. It's much easier than trying to hold them, because if you cut the side attachments off, you've just got these end attachments which would be glued into the fuselage anyway. So you can do that, and if you want to, you could also cut this bit off here, but I've left it there for a bit of protection. I can hold it. And then just sand away the seams, sand away the connection points, and then you're good to go, and you can paint them on the sprue, brush paint the bits of silver on, and then when you need them, clip them off and they're ready to go. You're not trying to hold anything, and you shouldn't have any masking to do or anything. So there we go, so that's that. And I've also done it here, you see, with the doors. There was a sprue tab up the middle. This end gets glued into there. So this side doesn't matter if it's not got paint on it. In fact, you don't want paint on it anyway. So this side is, I've taken that sprue out, removed the connectors, cleaned it up, so that's all good to go. These had loads of tabs on them. I've taken them off. In hindsight, I should have left them on. I could have used them to hold it. And what I've done is cut away the sprue connectors here, remove the sprue. So now we've only got that area there to touch in afterwards. So that's that. Then with the ladder assembly here, these railings go into the door, I think, but we've got an ejector pin mark in the door to get rid of, so I'm going to get rid of that first. Then I'll glue the railings into the door before I actually do any priming or painting on that. So that's just a little bit about sprue. Something else, this part here, because of the way the kit's designed, you're going to have this great big seam around here where the pitot tube and the tit, or just the tit or nothing, goes into the nose. Well, it's not nothing because you've got different nose if you have nothing. But basically, you can have just the just the refueling probe, just the tit, or both. So that's going to fit in there like that. And as you can see, we're going to have a seam to take care of. But I don't want to have that in there now before I do some painting, because it's going to get snapped off. So what I'm going to do is come in with a pointed, get it roughly in the centre, and then we've got the mould seam there to mark us the centre going sideways. I'll get that in the centre there, so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, and I'm going to push that in there and make a mark. I've got about 3 of these, and I think I've picked up the least sharp one. So I've got a 0.85 drill here, and I'm going to initially drill perpendicular to the surface, okay, just to get me started, and then bring the drill round. This is that bloody squeaky one again, isn't it? And then bring the drill round. Oh shit, see, it slipped off straight away. Bring the drill round, and then we're going to drill into here, and keeping an eye on how deep we go, making sure we stay nice and straight. Okay, and I would suggest doing this by hand, not with a motor tool, because if you use a motor tool you could easily just run off straight away. Should be doing this over the model either. Okay, so as I say, keep an eye, make sure you're staying straight. You don't want to come out the side of the refueling probe. I keep trying to call it a pitot tube, so please don't correct me if I keep saying that. It's just my stupid brain. It's not. I know it's not a pitot tube. It's just that my head's decided to call it that. So there we go. Right. So we can just check. We've got a piece of bait. I use a 0.85 drill because if you use a 0.8 drill, you won't get any glue down the side. So that's going to go in like that. I think we'll go a bit deeper. Okay, so that's it. We're starting to come out the side there. Look, so I need to stop. I'm going to roll that down. Okay, and that won't be a problem at all. Right, so what we're going to do now is cut this off. So I'm going to cut it off of the sprue. I only left it on the sprue for ease of handling. And then, again for ease of handling, remove this sprue nib now. Get something a bit more manly than that. Okay, then we come over the top. Get rid of the seam, come in with a sponge. Turn it over, do the other side. Get rid of the sprue nib on the bottom there. Don't be too much fuss about it because it's going into an area where you're going to do a load of seam cleanup anyway. And we can get in there with the sponge and clean the tip off. Now, I'm going to use my trusty saw, okay, and I'm going to cut this off as far back as I can. I'm just stroking the plastic with the saw. And I've made 2 cuts. Well done, Nigel, you prick. There we go, that's off now. So now all you've got to do is stick your piece of brass in the back end of your pitot tube, wherever the hole is. See, I call it a pitot tube again. I've drilled that hole right off centre, haven't I? And then that can go into there, and you can turn that until it all lines up, and then you can glue that on after. So there we go. So I can push that in there now. I could glue that in. Now you can see how far off centre I went on there. She's terrible. I should have done a lot better than that. So, but it doesn't matter, because what we can do is come in with our drill and drill it square so that it doesn't come out the side, and if we have to then we can just bend the brass. Okay, so we can push our brass in now a bit deeper, glue that in, and then that will fit into there just like so, and we can line it all up. There we go. And if we've got a bit of movement there anyway, and what we could actually do is leave that on the model loose like that and never glue it in, because it's going to keep getting broken off. So I'm going to try and improve on that a bit. So let me have a better go at that and see if I come back with a better solution. Okay, so sorted a fix. Right, so this is the one I made a pig's ear of. I drilled it and then I cut it off. What I would suggest is cutting it off first and then drilling it so that you can see the centre. So what I did, I got the kit part with no tit, cut the top off. So there's the bit with the tit. I call it the tit, I'm not sure what it should be called, but I call it a tit. And then that can go in to the nose, like so. And then this piece which I've cut off the other one without the tit can go in there, like so. Have to be trimmed to fit properly. And then we've got our refueling probe with a hole in the middle that's straight. That can go in there, and then we can just line it all up, get it, turn it so it's in the best position, super glue, mist the surface around there when it's all finished, and then we just give it a little touch of paint. Job done. So that's going to be my solution for avoiding having that getting snapped off. So that can go in the box, as can they. Okay, and then we're going to glue this in. So yeah, that needs a bit of blend in there, I think. And then we can, when we sort the seams, we can make it all blend in nicely. So there we go, it's all fitting in there nicely now. And then we can work on those seams before, without having that fuel probe, the refueling probe in the way. So I'll glue them in now, and then we'll be back. Just another good little tip for you guys as well. Another purchase you can make in your arsenal of tools. These are circle masking, they're called. Again, they come from Premium Hobbies. So we've got small, medium, large, and extra large. So these go from, small, medium, large, extra large. These go from 1mm up to 2.8 in 0.2 increments. These go from 3mm up to 4.6, again in 0.2 increments. These go from 4.8 to 6mm, and these go from 6.2 to 7.6mm. And the good thing with them is they're also cut out. If you look, I'll show you one that I've got open. They're also cut out, as you can see there. They're also cut out as squares around them. So if you wanted to use that one to mask a wheel and paint the hub after you've painted the tyre, you could do that. Or you could use the disc to mask the hub and then paint the tyre afterwards. So they're really good for them. Because I know that they're exactly 1/8 of an inch, which is 3.2 basically, because remember I had to drill them out, I used the 3.2, okay, and masked those. I don't know if they're landing lights or formation lights, but they're masked. As you can see, they're masked perfectly. So really handy little bit of kit to have, because cutting tiny circles out of masking tape is now impossible. So there we go. Another little tip. I think this video is going to be full of little tips for beginners and stuff. Right, okay, so I've put some more Mr. Surfacer in around here. We've had the Mr. Surfacer around here, we've had the Mr. Surfacer around his intakes, and that's all sanded out now, so they're looking quite nice and smooth, as you can see there. Looking nice indeed. And then on the nose there, I've also blended all that in. Nice Vulcan shot there for you, eh? Anyway, so that's all blended in nicely around there. And then on the tail, as I said, I've put some more Mr. Surfacer in there. I've gone around with a cotton bud, but I did it a bit too quickly, so I need to do that a bit later and do it. So the exhausts fit lovely, upside down, Nige. That one goes in there. They fit very nicely by the look of it, so we'll glue them in, we'll get some primer on them, and I need to do some research and see just where the actual white ends and the other colour begins. Is it that join, or is it a bit further back? So I'll get all that done, get them glued in. In fact, we'll do that now, so we can get our Mr. Hobby Cement S, and we can just put a drop in there, and a drop in there, and just get them glued in. And I think I'll also put a drop on the upper area as well, just in there, and just a tap in there. Okay, so that's that one in, and then this one again is a gorgeous fit. If you get the right way up, it is. So that one's going to go in there. So tap of glue in there. Tap of glue in there. Get on the end. Get on the end. Don't want them falling out, do we? And then a little tap in there. So that's them done. So now it's really starting to look like a Vulcan. So that's them glued in, so we'll leave that now to set. Give a little push, make sure they're still there yet. Okay, so we can leave that to set, and now we can just have a look actually and check that is level in there. This thing will be a beast in 48th scale. Right, so painting the bombs. Just want to have a little chat here about what I've learnt from one of my viewers, Andrew. If you look at the instructions, Airfix tell you to paint the bomb 75 here, 75 and 163, because they're saying it's a two-tone. And if you look at images of the bombs, like I've got in here, I think it was page 78. And the funny noise you can hear is Jess has just got a new toy. So that's the noise you can hear in the background. So a rubber toy is just chewing it. So if we look in here, you can see that the bombs are two colours. Okay? So Andrew said, no, they're not. They're the same colour. So it turns out what happens, because Andrew knows about this stuff for reasons. Basically, the tails are kept stored in boxes, so they remain this nice deep bronze green colour, the darker green, and they don't get used. So they don't get serviced, they don't get looked at, just stay in the boxes, so they stay this nice bright dark green colour. The bombs, however, are stored outside, so we'll get all sorts of weathering, they get sun fading, they get, like you can see here, we've got some rust on the surface by the look of it, or dirt or whatever, and then every 10 years they're serviced. So, I think it was 10 years he said. So basically, the bombs start out life the same colour as the tails, okay? But then over time they weather. So the bomb could be anything from like this Russian green colour all the way up to dark bronze green. So we can really have some fun with this and really sort of go to town with the weathering and paint them all different colours. But we'll have all the tails the same colour green. So if you remember, Airfix are tending to use 75, which is matte bronze green, for the, was it the back or the front? I've got it here, haven't I? Yeah, 75 on the tail and 163 on the front. And 163 is dark green. So they don't have a Tamiya colour for that. But the equivalent Tamiya for bronze green is JN green, which is XF11. So that's what we'll use. And if I can get the lid off. Quick tip for you guys here, when you're struggling with getting lids off and stuff like that, if you grab a lump of blue tack like so and stretch it out and wrap it around the lid, often it will work because you're basically increasing the diameter, so therefore increasing the torque you apply. So he says, well, there you go, that's a little tip for you. You can also get the little opening tools, but you know, blue tack doesn't cost you anything if you've already got some, so we can put that away now. So this is the colour we're going to use. I'll give that a stir, get it mixed up in the airbrush, and then we'll get painting. Okay, so I'll do one or two on camera. So got them here on their sticks, so we can just. Alright, so they've all had a coat of bronze green now, and then they've had a semi-gloss varnish on them, a couple of coats of semi-gloss varnish, just to get a bit of a sheen on the tail ends. And that way when we mask them up and paint the fronts, we'll have a little contrast between the green colour and the absolute dead dull matte green and this shiny green on the back end. So you're not going to see much of them anyway, really. Once these are going to sit on top of those, so as you can see, once they're sort of sat on top, you're not going to see much of what's underneath anyway. And that's the thing, everyone's been talking about, you know, masking up and painting these carriers. All you're really going to see of the carriers are the ends. So I don't know, I might just brush paint and we'll see. But at the end of the day, I think it's going to look good up in there, you know, because you'll have the white Bombay, and then you'll have the bombs, and the only thing that won't be white really on the bottom is the black undercarriage legs and the green bombs. So it's there for a good reason, really. So wait for those to dry off now, and then we can do something else. I guess we could start looking at painting up the undercarriage. We've got the primer on there. All we've got to do is decide whether we're going to go for paint the silver, mask and then paint the tyres, or paint the tyres, mask and paint the wheel. I generally paint the tyre first, so we shall see. Okay, so I've painted all the wheels now in XF85, which is a rubber black Tamiya. I would normally use tyre black from, I think it's number 77 from Mr. Hobby, but with the smaller wheels I like to do them like this. So here we've got the rubber black on there, and then in the airbrush I have a very thin mix of a dark grey. Okay, and what I'm going to do is try and show you on camera what I'm doing. Literally spray it, but only on the treads. Okay, so I'm going to have to put something down to cover up my work mat. This is probably going to drive the white balance crazy. Whoa. So yeah, probably going to drive it crazy, but hey, never mind. And all I'm going to do is just from this angle at a tangent to the wheel, perpendicular to the wheel, it's just, you can see how lightly I'm spraying it. Just literally turn the wheel in the spray, and then what we do, we get that grey. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that. You're not, especially with that white in the background, you're not going to see it. But what we've got here now is a, where are we? You can see the tread is grey and the sidewall is black. And if you look at tyres, that is generally how they look. And that's going to dry back and it'll hardly be noticeable, but it's just that extra little touch, and it's just going to make the wheels look a lot better. So just do another one on camera just to show you. So just literally, you can see how little is, I'm holding the airbrush here, you can see how little is coming out. Okay, just round the tread like that, that's it. Okay, and all you'll get is that grey on the tread and the black on the sidewall. Can you just see it there? I think the camera is actually making it a lot more enhanced than it really is. But which is what cameras tend to do, isn't it? So I'll get the rest done and then I'll come back and we'll look at painting the centres. Right, so getting these wheels painted, once again I'm using these are the High-Q circle masking ones, and I'm using the large set, and I'm using 5.6mm for the main undercarriage and 6mm for the front, and I've made 2 of each mask so I can swap them around rather than wasting all of these. So very, very handy things to have. And what I've done, I've actually made them onto a backing of ordinary 10mm masking tape, so I can just take them off and put them on the next one. And it also stops the overspray getting onto the tyre. Unfortunately, that one wants to curl up, so that's a bit of a shame, but there we go. So, and my paint of choice for these is going to be Tamiya LP38 lacquer paint. It's flat aluminium. I've never used it before. Be warned, a shake of these isn't enough. The bottom of that was absolutely solid. So, yeah, make sure you give them a good stir. So LP38, the reason I'm using that is I can use it neat from the jar. I'm not going to thin it. I don't want anything creeping underneath the masking tape. And also it's going to be flat and dull and not be all gleamy and shiny, which is what I want. And I can dust it on, because I can use it neat from the jar, I can dust it on. You can see I've got plenty in there. I'm just going to give it a little mix by blowing back through the airbrush, just to make sure it's got a mix. And just going to do a little test. There we go, and I'm literally going to dust it on. So if you dust it on, you won't get all the creep underneath and everything, and you should get a very nice look to it. There we go. So you can see there, got the wheel painted. Once that's had a wash on it, it'll look great. Okay, so we can just stand that up in our stand, and then take one of the, here's a front wheel, a nose wheel should I say. So this one do the same, just dust it on. May find it dries in the tip because it's a metallic. There we go. That's that one done. We also have to come in from an angle on this one because we've got some quite deep. We don't want the paint going under like that. We've got some quite deep, almost like Wolf Race mag wheels. So we get that one done, and then we get the other front done, which is here. Here's the other front one. Again, we'll just clear the airbrush. It doesn't like all this light spraying. It's also quite warm. It's about 26, 27 degrees, I think. So it's probably a little bit warm, but hey ho. So there we go. So that's the front wheels done. I'll just do one more rear for you, just so you get the idea. Blow that down so it's not all curled up. Just dust that on. There we go, and then when we pull the masking off, you will see we've got a lovely looking, where are we? You can see we've got a lovely looking wheel and tyre. You've got the black on the side, you've got the grey on the treads, and the silver on the wheel. Whether I do the back of the wheel or not, I don't know. I'll have to see how much of that shows. So I'm going to get the rest done now, and then I'll come back. Right, so we've got these wheels painted now, as you can see, after the masking, and I've gone over since, and I've given them a coat of, just on the faces, not on the tyres, you know, on the face of the wheel and the tyre, and just given them a coat of Tamiya semi-gloss, just to sort of give them a bit of protection for the next step. And what we're going to do is highlight all that lovely detail. So I've got some washes here. These are made by Modeller's World, and this one is a deep black, so it's a jet black wash. I'm sort of tempted to use it, but it may look a bit garish up against the sort of rubber black tyres, so I'm going to use this one here, which is an industrial dirt, which you can see is a very dark grey. Now what you could do if you wanted to is use both and just put a drop of, just get a drop on there, that's too much, never mind. Put a drop of the jet black wash around the outside of the rim on the tyres, but first of all I'm going to use this one and see what it looks like. So I'm going to put some on the back, just let it chase around, and then make sure we get it into all those holes and everything. And I'm just going to sit it there and let it settle out and let it find its own way. So you can see what's happening here. If I hold it closer to the camera, you can see that we've got the actual wheel there, and if I just put a drop on there, just like so, it's very difficult doing this. I'm looking at a screen while I'm doing it, rather than looking at myself, if you like. But there we go, just going to leave that on there now and let that sort itself out. I'll put some on the back as well. And then on the fronts, I think it's going to make a lot of difference to the fronts because we've got bigger slots and everything, but I want to make sure it goes around the rim and also into the wheel. Okay, do the same on the backs. Round the rim, into the wheel. And then if you have got any areas where you've gone over onto the tyre or whatever, I'm going to whip some of that out of there. Then it'll hide it. So and what this will do is it'll just settle itself down into all the nooks and crannies, and you won't really notice it on the surface. And if you think the effect is too strong, just go over some oils, oil wash, oil thinners, and take it off. I'm going to show you now with a cotton bud what you can do. There we go. So you can see what's happening there. It's going around the wheel, and it's just tidying everything up, and it's highlighting all the details. So what you can do, like this one here, if I feel I've got a bit too much in there, just touch it with a cotton bud and take some out. And then if you think you've taken a bit much off, just come in with some more and put it in there. Okay, and if you leave it to dry, once it's dried, you'll be able to rub it off with a cotton bud off the surface and just leave it down in the nooks and crannies. So there we go. So we'll let those, a little bit too much on that one, so I'm just going to dry that one off a touch. There we go. And then once they're dry, we can rub them over and get back to our nice bright silver wheels again. Some of them aren't as bright as others, where I put the paint on a little thinner, but that's okay. Okay, so there we go. We'll let those dry and then we'll come back. Now the bombs, I've gone the wrong way about this. What I should have done is sprayed them all the different colour greens first and then masked up to do the tails, because if you look at where the masking's got to go, use this as a pointer, here it becomes a cone and goes into a cylinder. That's where it's got to be masked. So if I try and mask the tail to spray the bomb, I've got to mask a cone, which is never easy. So the easiest thing to do would be to do the bombs, all the different colours and the weathering and everything, and then mask them here with like a 2mm wide tape and spray the tails then the bronze green after. So that's what we'll do. So we use that as a base to work with and then spray the tails afterwards. So what I'm going to do now is get all this cleared up and go and work on the Land Rover and while this dries. Okay, here we are next day now. So what I did last night, I went on and painted the hydraulic cylinders on the undercarriage. There is no hydraulic cylinder down here, so there's no chrome on the bottom. And the paint I used was this one, which is Mr. Hobby 213 metal colour stainless. And then once you paint it on, you leave it a few hours, a couple of hours or whatever, and then you can polish it. I have polished it before in about 10 minutes, but it does tend to, you can sort of rub it off. So that gives you a kind of chrome look to it all. We've got some white bits still showing here. I'm not going to worry about that because when it's in the undercarriage bay, you're not going to see it. Same on the front, on the nose gear. We've got a white bit there, but we're not going to see it when it's in and after it's had a wash and anything. I mean, I may actually put some black paint on there just in case, but I'm not worried about it on these. So there we go. So now we've got all our wheels done. They've all got the wash. I've gone round with a cotton bud and just literally just give it a gentle rub, and it leaves the wash down in the recesses. So as you can see there, it gives you a nice looking wheel. So there we go. So we can get all these fitted on now. So if we grab our extra thin, these wheels actually fit on these undercarriage very nicely indeed. So yeah, that fits on, it stays on there with a push. So what I'm going to basically do is grab a sanding stick, there we go, and just remove the paint from the end, just to give it a bit more of a chance. I'm going to put a drop of glue on there and then quickly put the wheel on, just like so. Okay, and then we'll do the same on this side. Drop of glue on there, quickly put the wheel on. There we go. So there, that's the front undercarriage done. You can see that there. All looking grand. And hopefully you can see in that picture what I've done with the tyres now. They've got the slight sheen on the outside, they've got no sheen on the treads, and they've got a lighter colour in the treads as well. So it just makes them a little bit more interesting to look at. And then we're going to do one of these mains. So I'm going to just clean the paint off the ends, just to make sure that in a couple of years down the road we don't have wheels falling off. But they are a very good fit. They're nice, nice snug fit on here. So I think this time what I'll do is put a drop of glue actually in the wheel, and then just plop that on, just like that. And then we'll do the same, another one here. Just plop that on, just like so. And I'm going to check this square, and I'll show you a little trick I use for that in a second. Put another one, get another couple here. So we'll put a drop of glue in that one and stick it on, and then a drop of glue in that one and stick it on. There we go. So now I'm going to get two square items. Now we could use bottles here, but what I've actually got are some steel blocks. I think they're called 1, 2, 3 blocks. You could use anything square. What I'm going to do is put the undercarriage leg in there and just push across with the blocks and just squeeze the undercarriage, and that sort of just squares everything up. It makes sure the wheels are square this way and this way, and you don't have any massive casters or cambers or toe-ins, should I say, and it just gets everything square. And we can see that that one is slightly toed in, so we do this again. Just squeeze them in and just make sure they stay parallel. And what you could do actually then is just leave it to set like that. So I'll get the other one glued up, and then that will be us. So I can put some drop of glue in there, stick that one on, drop of glue in there, stick that one on, glue in there, stick that one on, and then finally a drop of glue in here and stick that one on. There we go. And then again, put between the blocks, give it a squeeze, give it a tap, make sure everything stays nice and parallel. And what we can do now is put both of these in here. If we put them that way facing each other, and then we can push the blocks together and just leave it like that to set. If you want to put a little clamp on there, you can. but just the weight of the blocks should be enough. Okay, so moving forward with these bombs, as I said earlier, I've painted them in the bronze green, but we're now going to have to do the weathering and check the different colours for the bombs and then repaint the tails because it's going to be easier to mask them. So what I'm going to do, because it's quite late at night and I don't want to be opening the windows and stuff, I'm going to use this Vallejo paint. Now, you shouldn't really ever spray anything at all without having extraction or whatever, but I'm going to take the chance to see if I survive. So what I'm going to do is just with a couple of colour, I've got a green zinc chromate here. So I'm going to put a couple of drops of this in the airbrush, just like so. But that's not enough. I'm going to put a couple more drops in. And what my intention is to kind of shade the bombs and give them a bit of a different colour. I'm just going to put a drop of airbrush there in there just to thin it down. And then what I can do is put my finger over the end of the nozzle, blow back. My hands are dirty, I'm afraid. I've been out working on the Land Rover, I'm sorry. But there we go, and we can see, we've got a piece of scrap paper here, you can see that's a very, very bright green. So we'll just get some on that one there. Okay. Get some on that one there a bit thicker, so it makes more of a colour difference. And then I'm going to get some on that one there, that one there, just like so. As you can see, it's quite wet, it's wanting to puddle, but for this it doesn't matter. Yeah, I've got it thinned way too much. Vallejo paint is not my favourite paint, but I thought I'd do this because it doesn't smell. There we go, so that's those, and then we'll just do that one in there. And then that middle one there we'll hit with this lighter green. And all I'm looking to do is changing the colour. I'm not looking at do that one as well. And then afterwards we're going to be going in with brushes and stippling on and stuff like that. So there we go, give a bit more to that one. Get a bit more green. So now you can see we've got some differing shades on our bombs. And this is the kind of effect I'm trying to achieve. So I'm going to blow that out into my airbrush cleaner. Like so, and then come along with this IDF grey green, which is lighter again, and this time I'm not going to thin it, and then we can into that one just mist it on until we see a lightness changing, and then we can just keep going or stop. Okay, so we've got 3 different colours there. And on this one here, I'm going to do this one quite heavy so that it makes quite a difference in colours. So we get quite a light colour. There we are, just like that. And then in here, I'm going to do that one in the lighter colour. And then here, I'm going to do an end one, quite light, and then just gently shade this one in. Just like so, so you can see the difference there in those two. And then one of these. And then this one can have it quite heavy. You can see now we've got a nice sort of change in the tone of the bombs, so we're getting this different colour. Okay, now I might go tomorrow, I might go over them with some Russian green or something with lacquer, but you can see that what we've got now is the variation in colour like you see on the real bombs. And don't worry, I know it's too light, but once I've gone over it with some pigments and stuff, because we're going to black them up and we're going to make them look rusty and everything else like that. So, did I just see everything else like that? Sorry. So there we go. That's our bombs painted. Let's see what more we can do with it. Right then guys, here we are about 12 hours later, and we can see the bombs have all dried off to a sort of different shade, and they've got a different sheen to them and everything. And that's what we're after. Now, as you can see, all of these bombs are still freshly painted, so I haven't done any experimenting or anything. And what I'm going to do now is experiment with Tamiya. I've got 3 Tamiya greens here. I've got XF65 Field Grey, which is like a Russian green, Deep Green XF26, and then I've got Black Green XF27. Now, Tamiya paints for brushing are not the best, but I'm not going to actually be brush painting them. What I'm going to do is try and get a kind of stippled effect, because what I'm trying to achieve, if we look in here, I think it's page 78, I think I've already mentioned this. What I'm trying to achieve is this. As you can see here, these bombs are all different shades. You've got this mottly, dirty sort of green, and then these back here look a lot cleaner. So that's what I'm going to try and achieve. Now, so what I'm going to do is I've got these 3 colours of green here. So I'll come in with this one. I've got a tatty old brush. I've given them a good shake. A tatty old brush. I'm just going to, I'm not dry brushing, but I'm just taking most of the paint off. And then I'm going to, in fact, I'll practice on these first, because these ones are pretty much hidden. I'm just going to try and achieve a sort of rough finish on them. And you've got to remember, we've got to keep this in scale, because it's 72nd scale. It's not like it's 35th scale or 32nd scale. We've got to try and keep it in scale. So what we're getting now, as you can see, is a kind of mottled effect. If I do it on that lighter green one, it'll stand out more. Just take some of the paint off. That's too much paint on there. There we go. So like this, we can achieve this sort of mottled effect on it. Okay, don't worry about the back edge, because that's all going to be masked from where it becomes cylindrical to conical. It'll be masked there. Okay, so we can do that on all of them now. I'm confident of what's going on here. And like I say, the main thing to remember is to keep it in scale as much as you can, whilst getting the effect you're looking for. Alright. So we'll just do the same on all of these. Tighten that one up on the stick. I've shortened these sticks down as well, because using them at like, sort of 15 inches long is becoming a bit of a pain. So there you can see we've got the base colour showing through the different shades. We've actually got the mottling on there, which has given us the sort of mottled effect. So I'll get the rest done, then I'll come back. You don't want to sit and watch me do this, do you? And there we go, that's them all done, and I'm quite impressed with how they've come out actually. As I say, ignore the tails, they're going to be masked and sprayed after. But we've got this kind of, if I can get it in the light here, you've got this kind of mottly finish on there. And yeah, I think that looks quite good. They still got to need to do more work on it. But what I'm going to do now is give them a gloss coat, and then we can get the little yellow stripes on with the decals. I would try and paint them on, but it's too much hard work. We get the stripes on, and then basically do a bit of weathering on them after that. So, because obviously the yellow stripes would be chipped and rusty or whatever, the same as the rest of it would. So I'm going to give them a gloss coat to guarantee the decals go on nice, because they're going to have to work quite hard to get around there. And I just want to be guaranteed they're going to go down okay. So I'm going to give them a gloss coat, then we'll get the decals on, and then come back after that. Right, here we go, gloss coated, and I've used Alclad's Aqua Gloss. Get it back out. This stuff here, which is absolutely amazing, really, really good stuff. I have heard people use this for car bodies and that. I personally wouldn't, but it's great for little stuff like this, and for, before you put your decals on and stuff. Alclad Aqua Gloss ALC 600. Absolutely brilliant stuff. Don't shake it, don't stir it, just pour it in your airbrush, use it, and then I pour the remainder back in, which most people go, oh, you shouldn't do that. Well, I do. Always have, never had a problem. So there we go. So they're gloss coated now, ready for the decals. Now, I know I just said that what I'll do is I'll get them gloss coated, get the decals on, then I'll be back. But the trouble is now I've got to leave this, a good few hours to dry. Then I've got to do the decaling, then I've got to leave them a few hours to dry. So, we're looking at another day or two before I can get this video wrapped up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this video up here. And then what I'll do off camera, I'll get the decals on, or maybe I'll just show you doing one or two. And then we'll start off part 13 with getting these bombs weathered up and then masking up and doing the tails and the actual frames themselves. But yeah, as I said, I don't want to be dragging this out too long because this is where we're at now. This is the problem. I'm doing a bit, letting it dry, doing a bit, letting it dry. Spraying these bombs yesterday was, what was that, 5-10 minutes work, and then it's had to be left for sort of 12 hours before I could do anything with it. So it's kind of every time I do a bit, now instead of the videos being almost like for like, 1 hour video is like an hour and a half's work, we're now looking at a 1 hour video as a week's work almost. So let's get it. We showed you the undercarriage, didn't we? That's all done now and looking lovely. So once these bombs are done, that's all the detail stuff done, and then we can get the bomb base sprayed up and everything, and then start working on the actual camouflage itself. So thanks for watching. I'll see you all for part 13, unlucky for some, and hopefully we can start to get things moving a bit once we get all this fiddly stuff out of the way. Thanks for watching. See you again, guys. Bye for now.